Hello, everybody. So next we're going to just kind of walk through the introduction for the course and just want to give you an overview of what is up and coming. So this is 6510.030.040 or 6510.001, depending on which section you're in. And so the whole purpose of this course is to introduce you to what research is in education, psychology, and how that applies to the field of learning technologies. We'll walk you through how we conduct these, how we design research studies, how we analyze data, give you a broad overview of qualitative and quantitative, as well as multi-strategy types of research, but give you some practice as well so that when you move into your more formal courses on statistics, qualitative analysis, you'll have some familiarity with these before you walk into those courses. These are going to be some of the most important classes that you take are these research classes because that's the basis of your dissertation. So you'll want to be super familiar with research methods going forward. You're going to take, I believe, a minimum of 4 research courses during your career in the learning technologies doctorate. So this is the foundation for all of that. There will be a bit of quizzes and tests in here because there are some things that you just have to memorize. And while I am personally not a big fan of testing, you have to have the basic knowledge down so that you can apply it later. So we will be checking to make sure that you remember the core information in the textbooks and that it's covered in the synchronous classes as well as the video lecture and the other activities that you should do. So we will be doing this course 100% online. Uh, if this were residential in normal years, we would have face-to-face class meetings, but instead we'll be having at least 7 synchronous class meetings. That means you will have to be present from 6 p.m. to between 8:30 and 9 p.m. one day a week during those times. It just makes it a lot easier for me to convey content, answer questions. It is more efficient than pure asynchronous work because I can give feedback a lot faster and I can determine what you're understanding and not understanding a bit more quickly with synchronous meetings. This is not an asynchronous program, so be prepared to be present for class weekly. Course objectives, there's a list, many course objectives, 17 here. I'm going to let you read those on your own, and they link back to the overview. We're going to get into what is research in the learning technologies, how does it relate to education more broadly and educational research, psychological research, social sciences, even some business research. We'll talk about positivist and non-positivist, which some people talk about in terms of quantitative and qualitative research. We're going to talk a lot about ethics and doing ethics well and properly. I'm currently on the Institutional Review Board at UNT, so I spent a lot of time thinking about ethical research. We're going to get into statistics a bit. You're not going to do a lot of heavy duty statistics. We'll get some practice just doing some basic stats and understanding how we do statistical analysis in just Microsoft Excel. We'll talk about descriptive research and how we do interpretation. We'll talk about how do we report these research studies that we do, both in formal presentations as well as in written outcomes, articles, dissertations. We'll talk about instrument development, and you're going to take some tests and show me that you've learned these things. We're going to have some breakout rooms during the synchronous meetings, so you're going to work with your peers in order to develop shared understanding of what research is and how do we conduct it. So there's no real required prereqs for the course. This is an introduction one. You need to be able to cite sources. We're going to download Mendeley, and I'm going to talk about how do we cite things properly and what are easy ways to make sure that our citations are done properly, our references are written correctly. and we make sure that we give other people proper credit. Um, you're going to need to probably hook up with some other folks and network so that you have support throughout the doctoral program. And that's what has made those students that have graduated over the years very successful, is their ability to support each other. So that's important. And another big thing is make sure that you have at least 10 hours a week to devote to the course, whether it's an asynchronous class like this one, where you're watching videos, taking quizzes, doing other activities, and doing readings, or you're doing the readings and you're coming into synchronous class. You should be expecting at least 7 hours a week at a minimum in terms of devoting to this, studying your notes, rewatching videos as needed, reading articles and textbook readings. Those are all going to be super important. I just did this again just a couple of years ago, and I spent at least 10 hours, if not 15 to 20 hours a week per course in many instances. We try not to have it be that heavy, but this is a doctoral course. This is a rigorous program. So be ready, figure out how you can plan for that. There are some required texts. The main one is the Robson Real World Research book. Not super expensive. I believe you can get it as a Kindle download. The digital downloads are pretty good. I know a lot of people like to have the physical book in their hands, but I have found that being able to search through the text is helpful. But it's really up to you. I know it's a 2016 book, but its research doesn't change a huge amount. There's probably going to be a new one next year, but in the meantime, it's a very good book. You're going to need the American Psychological Association Publication Manual. 7th edition is the new one. They're not making the 6th anymore. So be sure you have it. You're going to need that book and probably the Real World Research book throughout your whole career in the department. So make sure that you hold on to them. And then you're going to find other readings and articles at library.unt.edu. One other text that I recommend is the Basic Statistics for Educational Research, 2nd edition. You can get a physical copy for about 14 bucks. It's 3 or 4 now for the Kindle edition, but any basic stats textbook that you can get is going to be super important to have just throughout your career to look things up. I just had to look a bunch of stuff up yesterday because my stats textbook is up in my office and I'm at home. And we had to spend a whole bunch of time looking at how to interpret some outcomes with a doc student because I didn't have it and I should have. So make sure that you just hold on to it and it'll be helpful. And then there's the Mendeley Research Reference Manual. It's a free download. This will make your life a lot easier when it comes to citations and references. I recommend downloading it as soon as possible so that you have it available. In terms of communication, this is me. I say Dr. Scott J. Warren because there is another Scott Warren at UNT. His name is E. Scott Warren, so that can be confusing. Make sure you get the right one. There's also Scott J. Warren that is a chemist, I believe, in the Pacific Northwest, who's way more famous than me and a just brilliant dude. We are not the same person. Make sure you're looking for the education, instructional technology, business guy. Office hours, I do them by appointment. We'll do Zoom call or phone call, but they have to be by appointment. I will have my kids home, and so my schedule is going to be wonky and challenging, so we just have to schedule that way. If you want to text me, use my Google Voice number that's listed here, and that'll come through to me. If you need to leave a message on my Office 365 number, this goes to my office, but I'm not going to be physically there. That's listed here. My email is standard. UNT email is just first name dot last name at unt.edu for faculty and staff. And then another easy way to get a hold of me is on Twitter. This is my Twitter handle. I'm on Twitter probably an hour a day. So that's an easy way to get a hold of it. Get a hold of me because I usually get those messages quickly and they pop up. And then the weekly Zoom information, you can just click on the link. It's also listed out in the module as well. If you need to call in, there's information for calling in. because I know that not everybody's going to be able to get through here as easily as possible, and the fall is probably going to be a challenge. So I want to make sure that we have all possible avenues covered. Um, like I said, my family is at home. There are really 6 people here that I'm trying to take care of, plus dogs and cats and airplanes. And it says that I prefer that questions go through the Q&A forum. No. Um, in fact, let's kill that off right now. Discussion forums I've found aren't super efficient, so we're just going to take that out. I have tried to do them in the past, and I don't love it. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can try email, but again, Twitter direct messages tend to be the fastest, or my Google Voice number is also very quick. I will try to get feedback back to you within a week. Sometimes it may take 2, depending on how big the assignment is. I will try to participate in any discussion forums during the weeks that we don't have synchronous class meetings and respond to you, but I won't be able to respond to literally everyone. I tried that once in a class. I was spending 40 hours a week per one class just trying to keep up on discussion forums in that class. So I'll post if I see instances where there's some challenge with understanding and there needs clarification, or if I see especially good thinking, I'll note that, and I'll try to change up who's getting feedback in the asynchronous forum week over week, so that everybody's getting fair feedback. But most of my feedback is going to come through the assignments that you turn in, so be prepared for that. Course grading, it will let me in. So this is currently approximate. I'm probably going to increase the amount for weekly assignments because of the massive addition of asynchronous stuff. And in the weekly assignments, this will also include quizzes that you'll take. These will be small quizzes just to check for understanding. So this may be modified slightly, but overall, the goal here is to give you weekly activities. You're going to do practice on creating research designs. You're going to practice creating an institutional review board document. You're going to go through city certification to make sure that you can perform research ethically. There's going to be weekly assignments, and some of these are going to include reflections that you're going to do in online blogs so that you have the opportunity to think about what you understand. This is the opportunity for you to challenge yourself and reflect on what you think you've learned, try to figure out what you still need to understand more about. And it gives you that opportunity that we don't usually give ourselves to learn better by spending time understanding what we do and don't know and what we need further on in order to grow. And then there's some statistics and coding practice assignments that we'll do. These are going to be very simple. I just want you to get the opportunity to know what it feels like to run simple statistics, to code some basic descriptive data before you get into the other courses, so that once you do have that opportunity, you're kind of grounded in it and know what's coming. We are going to have 4 major exams over the course of the semester. The first is going to be focused on the overall, what is research? What are the purposes of research and learning technologies? And what are the ethical principles that we need to follow? So that's going to be your first exam. Second is going to be positivist research methods. These are quantitative, numeric to a large extent. A lot of the time they are pre-test, post-test, where you see if there's a change in the learner from time A to time B. And then in the third exam, this is going to be qualitative descriptive, where you're examining people's utterances, conducting interviews, doing focus groups, looking at text in online forums. And so those are non-positivist, more subjective methods. And then finally, you're going to have a comprehensive final exam in the last week of the semester that covers all of the first 3 sets, as well as some additional information in the last couple of weeks. Grading scheme is very standard, 90 to 100%. Outstanding, you did great, you get an A. B, 80 to 89, C, 70 to 79, D, 60 to 69. And below that, you get an F. Now, I get a lot of Fs or Ds. Every once in a while, I get C's because students just stop turning stuff in. I understand if you have challenges and issues, but you got to try to keep up and you got to set aside time every week to do this. I know it's hard. I know we're all going through crazy and everything. I went through doing another PhD while I had 2 small kids at home and was a full professor trying to run through things and deal with a whole bunch of headaches. So we all have stuff that we go through. I will be as empathetic as possible. But if you're not getting things done, there's not a whole lot I can do. If you get to a certain point, you just can't turn stuff in. If you have a medical excuse, I need the medical excuse, and then we can do it incomplete, but that's pretty much the only way. If stuff is turned in 1 day late, you're going to get at best a 90. 2 days late, best is an 80. If it's a week late, the best you're getting is a 50. After that, you're not getting credit. I can't keep grading things forever. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the other students. If you have an illness, we will work something out, but you need to communicate with me. Don't just randomly start turning stuff in. Again, I'll try to get stuff turned around within a week. Sometimes it may take 2, depending on what's going on and how extensive the work is. If you've got issues with grades, you need to contact me, but wait a day from the time that you receive the grade to dispute it. Sometimes I'll put stuff in wrong. Sometimes I'll put in a 5 instead of a 50 because I'm typing too fast. That's not a big deal. You can tell me about that right away. If you get back a paper and I gave you an 80 out of 100 and I give you extensive feedback and you want to dispute that, wait 24 hours. But you're going to have to talk to me first and we're going to have to try to figure stuff out. If we still can't work stuff out, then you can talk to the department chair. If that doesn't work, then you can go to the dean. If that doesn't work, then there's the dean of students. That's the chain of command. But if you try to go over me, they're all going to tell you to come back to me first. So that's just the way things are. But I'm here to help. I don't want to make anything difficult. This is all going to be challenging enough as it is. So let's just work together and do things to the best of our ability. We're not doing extra credit. You have enough work to get done in here. And this is a doctoral course. It's not undergrad. It's not high school. You do the work because you love the work and you want to learn. So course policies and technology requirements. Late work, again, for some reason they have it in here twice. I'm not going to reread it. Cheating, if you cheat, you're going to fail the exam, project, or paper. You may fail the course, you may get expelled. Those are the rules. There's some information on dishonesty in the graduate catalog. I'm not really worried about that particularly. If you have any accommodations that need to be met, please contact Office of Disability Accommodation. We will do everything we can to help you. Technology requirements, as I already said, Microsoft Office Suite, you need a microphone and a webcam. I am going to want to see your webcams on because I want to make sure that you're not just wandering off. I've had reports at times from students where they're like, because you didn't have us have the webcam on, I know that at least 3 students weren't even in the room when you were teaching for an extended period of time, and then they came back and didn't know what was going on. That's not super cool. So unfortunately, when we do synchronous meetings, I want your webcams on. That's where we're at with policies and tech requirements. Now, next, there's a little start here confirmation quiz that I would like you to take. Won't take you very long. And then the link for Zoom for the weekly meetings is here. You can always go into the introduction module and pop that in for when we have the synchronous meetings. Please put the synchronous meetings in your calendar so that you don't forget to be there. Um, we're only going to have, I believe, 7 class meetings. You can't afford to miss those. I'll record them, but you need to be there since we're not doing a ton of meetings. Um, next steps. So before you move on, we're going to need to look at the syllabus here in a second, but Robson Mark Hartan, order that. Make sure that you get the APA book and then the recommended basic statistics book. I would definitely recommend getting it. Don't care which one you have, but make sure that you got one. Syllabus. Syllabus actually covers a lot of what we've already walked through to this point. And actually, this is now incorrect because we keep switching when we're meeting. So currently, we're supposed to be meeting on Wednesday, but it still may move to Monday, but I'm not re-recording this. So for right now, it's on Wednesday. That may change. I'll fix it in the syllabus if it does change. Again, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time to about 8:30 p.m. Some nights we may need to go to 9, especially since we're having a lot fewer class meetings, and I want to make sure everybody gets what they need. Again, broad course goals are listed here. Please read through them. Textbooks we've already been through. Your weekly attendance constitutes 20%. If you have some absolute emergency, please try to contact me within 48 hours and let me know what's going on. I've had people get sick. I've had people have family emergencies, stuff like that. Totally get it. But please don't take advantage. These meetings are here for you. So please make sure that you are attending. The exams, again, they constitute about 30% of your grade. So please be sure to study. You're going to do a positivist research design. So you're going to make a quick design for a sample study so that you get the experience of doing it. That's about 10% of your grade. Same thing with a qualitative non-positivist research design. You're going to do a sample institutional review board submission because you're all going to have to do that for dissertation and any other research that you do with faculty. You can only do research during your doctoral program with faculty members. It is done under their name, so you can't do research on your own. It has to be done under the supervision of a faculty member. This will give you that experience. You also have to have a city certificate showing that you can perform or you understand what the basics of doing research ethically is. And you'll do that through the University of North Texas that has a license to do it. You're gonna have some statistics and coding practice assignments, and then a bunch of blogs in order to get you opportunities to think through stuff. Plus, that way I can see if you're understanding, what you're not understanding, what you want to understand more about. So it's a way for you to think about stuff and for me to get feedback on what you understand and don't understand so that I can tweak things during the synchronous classes in order to help improve stuff. There's a list of the course workflow going from weeks 1 through 16 in here, including all the goals and objectives. Read those at your leisure. Again, listing of the grading and course average policy is here again. Cheating policy, EEO, ADA statement. These are all basically repeats of what we've already gone through, so I'm not going to read them again, but it is all collected here together in the syllabus. There's also a PDF of this in case you need it accessible. Right here at the top, you can click and it should pop open. And you can also download it. So that is really an introduction to what's going on. We'll talk next briefly about timeline, but in the meantime, we're going to take another little quiz just to check for understanding. I'll see you in a few.